Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy Nissen, as well as the Jira Amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life, the Jira Life chose us.
And I completely forgot to get rid of that. Welcome, folks, to the ACP-120 preparation. Today, we're going to start off with section 1.2. And I'm going to see if I can make it all the way through section 6.2. 6.1 and 6.2 are what we're going to cover. Holy moly, way too early in the morning. I had to move this around. I didn't realize that I had booked this a little later, but then got something else scheduled on top of it. So moved it a little earlier, but here I am barely waking up. So the internet must go on, right? The show must go on. So let me share my screen. We're going to continue down this journey of discovery and exploration. I think I'm still flying solo. I am not sure what's up with Rodney's situation. I don't know when he's flying back from Europe, but I'm assuming it's going to be today or tomorrow. But in any case, he's already passed the ACP-120, and so he doesn't need the rest of this. But we're going to wrap this. Hopefully, I think there's 3 sections to section 6. So hopefully next week we'll be done, and then I can take the test. But let's get through this. All right, so let's start with an overview of user features. In this module, you'll learn to translate business requirements into appropriate advanced JQL queries, manage shared filters and dashboards, and identify the outcome of filter subscriptions and configurations, and then understand the results of implications of a bulk operation. So they expect, as the product advocate in your organization, you'll be expected to be able to help end users. So you should know everything a power user would know. This knowledge covers writing advanced JQL, creating filter subscriptions, and performing bulk operations. Andy says he missed the Jira Life yesterday, but cut up last night. It was a fun one, Andy. It was fun to see you. You had a nice little face, nice little silhouette. Well, I guess it wasn't a silhouette, but it was definitely your face there at the entrance from what I saw from our B-roll video. So kind of cool. You made a little appearance. I don't know if you had a chance to fly over to Europe. I'm assuming not, since you're working right now. But it was nice to see a friendly face. Well, there's a lot of friendly faces, but it was nice to see your face on that wall. All right, so let's jump in. We're going to be writing advanced JQL queries. This is kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. JQL, as much as I love it, I'm so thankful for Atlassian Intelligence that helped you write these JQLs now, because it's not the easiest of things to do. Andy says, my wife said she thought it was only there for cultural diversity. I never intended to attend in person. Yeah, I don't know how they made the selection, but I'm losing my train of thought. I'm not sure how they made the selections, but it was still like interesting to see a few. We just have so many people, right? I'm assuming it gets a little hard to pick who gets put on the wall. But I honestly would have liked to have gone to Europe, but 12-hour flight, just right when I had to buy the tickets, I had just experienced one of the worst delays and travel experiences of my entire life. So I was like, the last thing I want to do is fly to an international country and deal with things in a different language. So I was like, I'm okay. I'll just stay at home and watch it from the internet. All right. So as the Jira administrator, you will be asked to create advanced Jira query language queries. Thankfully, now we have Atlassian Intelligence that kind of helps with this. To successfully conquer this objective, you need to be able to translate business requirements into appropriate queries for analyzing existing queries to correct and optimize them. I like this very much because what businesses usually ask for and what you can do with JQL are never together. The business is usually asking for a lot of things that Jira and JQL just can't deliver. So it's an interesting statement here. You will also help users when writing, improving, and correcting their JQL queries. This is true. Others write a lot of queries. There's a lot to know about JQL, so if you're not proficient in using the advanced search, you will want to review JQL tutorials and documentation. In particular, see the various advanced searching guides, the function references, field references, keyword references, and operator references. So I like how this is like saying like, hey, there's some basics, but really you got to know the hard stuff. All right, so what is JQL? And if you've been a fan of the Jira Life, you know that we like to call it JQL, although some people might not like that, but I think SQL and JQL is appropriate, but JQL is, I think, the most commonly accepted term. So JQL is used basically for searching, right? So if you have data in Jira in a board, or if you have Jira data, right? Anything that you put in a issue, like any field, right? Any like the summary, the description, or any custom fields that you have, there's data in the tickets, there's data in the issues, and you want to get that data. And so you can get that data usually because you're searching for it, and you're searching for it in JQL. Also, every board has a filter by default, and you can tweak that filter to find or remove certain issues from your board. So as a Jira admin, you're expected to be a JQL master. So there are fields, including system and custom fields, operators, keywords, and functions. So what's a field? So you should be able to recognize Jira system fields in a query, such as the assignee, issue type, status, priority, and others, but you should also be able to differentiate system fields from custom fields. So basically anything doesn't ship with Jira, it's basically a custom field. Although, fun fact, story points should be a default field, but it is technically a custom field. All right, operators. So certain operators are only appropriate with specific field types. This is tricky, folks. You got to practice this to know this. And you should study which ones are which. For example, you would use equals, not equals, greater than, or greater than or equals, less than equals with number fields. Wow, that's a lot of. So basically all the mathematical ones you would use with the number field, because you can see if something's greater or less than, or equal to or not equal to, right? There's an operator that the little tilde, it's used when you're looking at at text fields, and it supports fuzzy searches. Basically, you wouldn't want to put the tilde in a number field, right? Like it's for text because you're kind of searching for words. The in and not in are used for select list, radio buttons, and checkboxes. So you can see if something is in it or not, like is it a value or not. The is and is not are used with either null or empty to check the presence or absence of a value. Was and change. This is something I don't use very often, but this is kind of a cool one. We do have the was and change are two special operators that search for historical information and change history. They only apply to certain fields, however. This includes the assignee, the fixed version, priority, reported, resolution, and status. And if I was a betting person, I can guarantee you that Atlassian is going to be testing you on this one. They should be giving you an example of like, hey, Billy used to be the assignee of something, but now it's assigned to Tim. How do we determine if Billy was ever the assignee? And I guarantee you this is going to be one of those functions that you don't use very often, but come up in that kind of a conversation. So expect that. You should know the correct placement of not. For example, not status changed. Okay. And note that there are two operators that take these optional predicates from, to, by, before, after, and during. And note that the above list is not the full list of operators. So you definitely want to check out Atlassian's documentation to get all the operators, but these appear to be the more common ones. We have keywords. So a keyword in JQL is a word or phrase that does or is any of the following. It joins two or more clauses together to form a more complex. It alters the logic of one or more clauses. It alters the logic of the operations, of the operators. It has an explicit definition in a JQL query. It performs a specific function that alters the results of a JQL query. And these are the 6 keywords. And these usually are all caps. Usually when I'm writing JQL, it's all capital letters. And used to combine multiple clauses such that criteria for both clauses must be met. And or used to combine multiple clauses such that the criteria for either clause is met. Be very careful with your ors, folks. I've gotten bit. The and is very restricted, right? So and basically says, hey, we have a lot of possible search results, but when we and something together, both or if you have multiple ands, right? But ideally, both sides of the and must be true. And so you go from having a lot of possibilities to having a little bit of possibilities because you made an and statement, which means both have to be true. And so your search results might come back severely limited because both conditions have to be true on both sides of the and. The or, however, this is where a lot of people get into a lot of trouble. This is usually the biggest problem that I see is in your board filter, you'll put an or statement in there. And so now your board is going to say, like, hey, show me everything that's in this project, or label equals this. And so now you're going to bring every issue from anywhere in Jira that has a specific label. And now you lose the ability to start and stop your sprints. So be very careful with your ors, because only one side of the equation needs to be true, and it can open up some unintended results and behaviors for you. Be careful with that or. Not. Used to negate individual clauses. So basically, you want the opposite of what you want. If you've ever taken a programming course like computer logic, highly recommend you get very familiar with and, or nots and stuff like that, because these are very common in programming. Empty and null is used to basically find when the field doesn't have value. So this is great if you want to find out if like something has a due date or doesn't, right? You can say, hey, do we have a due date? Like, is the presence of a due date there? If it's empty, then that means somebody didn't put a due date, and we want to go look for those. Order by, used to specify the fields by whose values and the search will be sorted. This basically, once you find your data, it's going to present it to you in some form, and you can order by and ascending by a field. And usually it's like rank or something like that if on the board, but you can basically pick any field to sort by it. And I do believe you can comma separate these, so you can like do sort by title and then by key or something like that. So it's powerful, but a little confusing sometimes. All right, and then we have functions. So these are more rarely used, but they're very powerful. So you should be well-versed in all native JQL functions for the fields and link types. Take time to look at the functions related to date searches such as now, start of day, end of day, as well as those for start, end of week, end of month. So this is great when you're looking for like, bring me every issue that's due now, or that is due yesterday, or start of the day, or the end of the day, or start of the week, due this end of this month type of thing. Powerful there. Be sure you fully understand how, man, I cannot read at 6 a.m. Be sure you understand fully how to use optional increments of plus or minus a certain number of days and weeks. And for example, just to get through this one, like you can do now plus 5 to do like 5 days from now, and you can do like now minus 5 to go like 5 days ago. So that's basically what this is saying. All right. So below the list of the JQL queries, see if you can match them to their translation. Ooh, this is fun. So do less than start of month 2. Okay, yeah, these get tricky. Start of month 2. So 2 days after the beginning of the month. Okay, do is start. Oh boy, this is way too. Folks, take your tests when your mind is clear. So don't do, if you're not an early bird, don't do it first thing in the morning. Maybe have a cup of coffee first, because all 4 of these, there's just like 2 characters on the screen that are slightly different that completely alter the definition here. So let's see if I can read these correctly and not get these cross-eyed. All right, so we got issues due before the beginning of the month of 2 months ago. Issues due before of 2 months ago. I'm going to go with this one. Issues due after the beginning of the month of 2 months ago. So I'm going to go this day. Issues due before the beginning of the month 2 months from now. And then I'm going to go with this one like that. Let's see if I'm right. I might have both of these flipped, but let's see, because logic is hard. Hey, I got them all right. Cool. That was surprising. Okay, complex queries. So you should know how to construct and evaluate the results of complex queries, and especially how to evaluate the results returned by multiple clauses. You will have to evaluate the order of operations when multiple clauses are joined together with the Boolean operators of and and or, and be vigilant about using parentheses for both readability and with respect to the outcome of the results. JQL does respect PEMDAS for like at a certain level, which means like I can do like due date is now and assignee equals bill and put those in parentheses, and then put or like resolution is won't do, right? Like you can do an and statement, lock these up in parentheses, and then hit it with another operator and have like another part of the equation. So they do get pretty complex. And again, use Atlassian intelligence whenever in doubt, because that's one of my favorite features, and makes this whole process so much easier. All right, some best practices. You should have an idea of what is considered a best practice with respect to JQL and why. Know the principles behind building efficient and robust queries so you can apply them to different use cases. Understand the impact of JQL on overall system performance. Think of readability, especially long queries with multiple clauses and parentheses. Limit scope of search. For example, it might be best to query select few projects instead of querying the entire Jira instance. Maintainability. Also keep in mind the maintainability of save filters. Can a filter be written in such a way that it can accommodate future changes? For example, it might be better to use functions members of or current user instead of an individual name. This is very true. So I can't tell you how many like private filters exist where people just create like, I want to see my issues. Well, you can just make a generic one that's like current user, and it applies to every user, because that current user will shift really based on the user looking up the results. So these are powerful. Likewise, it is best to use functions of subtask issue types and standard issue types instead of listing out individual type names. This one I'm not going to advocate for too heavily. Usually I'm very explicit in what I want to know, and it's this is too generic. That's too much. You'll get too much data coming back here. I note that they use a special category field which will return all issues in all projects listed under that category. Oh, sorry. There's a category field. So for example, if you wanted to just look at all the software projects, you can go do that instead of looking at specific names. All right. Example. On the exam, you'll encounter many JQL statements. You might see that in the question itself and be asked to evaluate it, whether it returns too few or too many results, or whether the query itself is invalid or inefficient. Or you may be given business requirements and asked to determine which of the JQL statements listed in the answers will meet the requirements. Whew, these get hard. Here's an example of a complex query with multiple clauses using and or Boolean operators and the various fields, functions, and operators. Inspect the query. Right away, you might be asking yourself some questions. Does it need the parentheses to perform the order operations correctly? Is it returning the right results? Is it efficient? Is the date increment correct? One character can make a huge difference when in a JQL query. And if you've ever programmed before, folks, this is as close as we get to programming in Jira. And trust me when I tell you, a little semicolon can ruin the whole thing. Obviously not here, but in coding in general. All right, so here's our thing. So we have category equals dev. We have a bunch of project categories, and we're looking at the dev projects only. And then we're going to look and assign equals the current user. So that's basically going to show me this part of the equation shows me any issue that belongs to me, as long as as long as the issue is inside of a project that is categorized as dev. Or status changed and project equals cert and wow, this is just complex. I don't even think that this would give you anything of value. Or it's going to bring us where any issue that the status has changed, which is like every issue, and the project equals cert. So these two don't necessarily go tied together, but this basically limits it from, instead of all the dev ones, we're going to get the cert ones, and issue type equals standard issue types, and do. So we're missing some parentheses here. And I think we would want the or to be right here and at the end of here. But I don't know what they were trying to intend with that, because this is just a very complex query. All right, check your knowledge. What will each JQL return? Before you flip the card, okay, can we even flip? Okay, we can, okay. Because usually I have to refresh my screen, so just checking for that. All right, so look at how the clauses are written and see if you can tell. Oh, we reached the end here. And see if you can tell what's going to be results. So assignee is empty, and project tis equals tis, or the type equals story. So this is where I was telling you, like, if you're not careful, it's going to bring a lot of stuff. So we're looking for is the assignee empty? and the project equals TIS. Okay. But then we're hit with the or, type equals story. So what we're going to get is we're going to get all the stories. And then we're going to get anything that's in where the assignee is empty and the project is TIS. So we're going to get any empty or we're going to get any unassigned issue in TIS, and we're going to get all the stories. So let's see if I'm right. This JQ will return issues that are unassigned in the TIS project or issues that are stories. So the results may include issues that are assigned and in other projects. Yep. This one says the assignee is empty and project TIS or the type of story. So now this one's going to specifically bring us issues in the TIS project that are of the type story, but then they're also that are unassigned. So it's going to bring us unassigned and either the TIS project or our stories in other projects. Maybe. Well, see, I wouldn't have thought. Oh, I guess the or. Sorry, yeah, I missed this or here. If this was an and, then this would have just brought the stories in TIS. But this is going to bring us anything that's in this project or anything that's a story, but it has to be also the assignee has to be empty. And then this last one is the assignee is empty and the project equals TIS. So these are grouped together, right? So this goes together. So this is basically going to bring us any issue in TIS that doesn't have an assignee, right? That's one side of the equation. Or it's also going to bring us any issue in Jira that is of the type story and the priority high. So it's going to return issues that are either unassigned in this TIS project or any high priority stories. So that's exactly that placement of those parentheses is very important, and those and ors are very, very important. All right, let's look at some sample questions. After answering each question, all right, here we go. Your management team needs to see a list of only those issues that were resolved in the previous week from Sunday to Saturday. The list needs to be sent to them each week on Tuesday. You plan to create a save filter and a filter subscription to do this. Which JQL query will result? All right. They need to see a list of issues that were resolved in the previous week. And today's Tuesday. We got to go back 2 days. Oh, boy. So I don't think, let's see if we can eliminate some of these because this can get very confusing. Folks, this would be one of those questions that I would definitely skip. This part of the test is worth like 6%. I would expect 1 or 2 of these questions to show up on the test, but I would definitely not spend, because you got to really look at these things and understandings. And these are these things when you're first going through the test. You want to skip this and come back after you've answered all the other questions that were easy because you want to grab that low-hanging fruit. Then you want to come and hit this. So let's see if we can eliminate some of these and what these are saying. So this is saying I want everything that's resolved before the end of the week. But we're on Tuesday, so we're going to get everything that goes all the way out until the following week. So probably not this one. This one we want everything resolved after last week. So this might be okay. From Sunday to Saturday. I'm going to go from Sunday to so this is kind of the confusing part because we only want to see the previous week. So from Saturday to Saturday, and then we want to send it 2 days later. Okay. I think it might be this one. Because we're sending it on Tuesday and we wanted to grab all of last week, but we want to go all the way through Sunday. I have no idea. So resolve start of week and resolve start of week. Status change to resolve before start of week. And resolve start -7 and resolve start of, I think it's going to be A. Let's go with it. Ooh, it's B. Let's find out because I had no idea on this one. So incorrect. Resolved is greater than last week. We'll return all issues that were resolved this week up until Tuesday. We'll return all resolved this week. Okay. Resolved start of week. Oh, because of the end of week. Okay, we need a start of week. Okay. So resolved start of week -1 and resolved start of week ensures that only issues that were resolved in the previous week from Sunday to Saturday are returned by the query. The start of the week functions return Sunday 00 by default. Huh. So I guess you got to know what days these start and end of weeks do. C is incorrect because resolved issues do not necessarily have their statuses changed to resolved. Yep, so that would have been wrong. D is incorrect because start of date -7 is actually a Tuesday. So this filter will return all issues resolved from Tuesday. Yeah, I didn't think that was correct because of the 7. We're going back 7 days from Tuesday. Yep, that didn't make sense. And then incorrect is resolved end of week will return all issues that have ever been resolved, not just the ones from last Sunday. So there you go, folks. That's the reason. All right, I don't think I'm going to pass this part of the test. just spoilers. All right, your Jira instance has a select list custom field app named application, which lists all the Atlassian offerings. You need to write a JQL query that shows all the issues due within the next month for Jira, Trello, and Jira Line applications. How do we satisfy this? Okay, so we got application in Jira, Trello, and Align. Application in, application or. So I think we can eliminate both of these because I don't think we would do application equals Jira or application equals Trello or application. Like, I mean, we could, but I would rather go with the in. So we should go these three have the application in. So I think I'm gonna put my eggs in that basket first. So then we have and due date is greater than the start of the month, and the due date is less than the end of the month. Holy moly. We want to show all issues due next month. Okay, so this is start of month. So this is where the due date is after the start of the month and before the end of the next one. So this one I'm leaning towards. This one says, and the due date is greater than the start of the month, or the due date is less than the month. I don't think that this one's right, even though they're very careful. The only difference is the and, right? And the or here. And the reason that I'm not, the reason I'm, so I think the answer is going to be between A and B. I don't think C is correct because of this 1M. I don't think that this is a variable we care for. And I don't think these two are correct. So it's going to be A or B. So really what we're discussing here is it an and or is it an or? So we want every issue where the due date is after the month and before the, I think it's going to be the or. So let's go with the or. And it was the and. Okay, so let's find out why. Great. Yeah, this doesn't tell me why. So this query will return the wrong set of issues. The time frame for the due date should be connected with an and instead of an or. Okay. I kind of low-key thought this was going to be because this or due date is less than a month from now should return any issue before a month ago. And so that would have been too many issues. And that's why my gut was telling me A, but I had a 50-50 chance and just, I just had to take it. All right. So again, I'm over 2 on this one. I'm not feeling comfortable with section 6.1. Definitely, folks, study your end, like do some JQL practicing there because as you just saw, this is tricky. This is very, very hard. If you can't visualize those returns and what those JQLs are doing, it can get very, very tricky. Because that wasn't a fact-based type of thing. This was like you really need to know what these things are returning. All right, on to the next one. We're going to talk about filters, configuring filters, dashboards, and subscriptions, and hopefully this section is a lot easier. So let's find out. In this lesson, we'll take a look at filters, dashboards, and subscriptions. As a Jira admin, you should be able to manage shared filters and dashboards and identify the outcome of the filter subscription configurations. Spoilers or fun fact, I've never done a filter subscription, so let's see how these go. General settings. So under system general configuration, Jira admins can edit a setting called allow users to share filters and dashboards to the public. We've covered this before. The setting is disabled by default. You need to be aware of it However, because if it's set to on, it allows individuals to share dashboards and filters with all users, including those that are not logged in. Users can view publicly shared objects by searching for those shared with anyone. Disabling this setting will not affect those already shared with public. They will continue to be publicly shared, available until the sharing is modified. Global permission. Additionally, there's a global permission called shared dashboards and filters. Users you need it for sharing those objects. This is covered we covered in a different section. Jira admins can allow users to share filters and dashboards with the public. Let's go look at that configuration. I don't know that I've seen it. So in the gear system, that's like it's going to be in here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Allow users to share dashboards and filters with the public. So this is definitely turned off. So it's just basically telling you turn it on if you want to be able to allow people to share dashboards and filters with users that are not logged in. Users can view publicly shared objects by searching for those shared with anyone. Disabling this setting will not affect those already shared. They will continue to be until the sharing is modified. Okay. Then the global permission we know about, access levels. So once both prerequisites are met, the general setting is on and the global permission is granted. Users have the option to share their dashboards and filters with viewers and editors. The choices are a group. Filters can be shared with any group. They can be shared with a specific project role in that project. They can be shared with your organization, which is any logged in user, and then they can be shared with the public, which means anyone on the internet. No sign-in is required. This is an interesting one. Does this mean that they need a Jira license? Remember that the project permissions and issue security both apply when viewing issues. If the user cannot view an issue in the project, they can also not view it in the filter. However, be aware that the names of the shared filters and dashboards could reveal confidential. This is interesting right here. So remember that project permissions and issue security both apply. So, like, why would you want to share with no sign-in required if you don't have access to the project, right? And if you don't have a license, then you can't see it. So this kind of seems like a silly thing to have. But I'm not Atlassian. Edit the filter. So dive into the parts below. So here's the name. So we can edit the name. So we can change the name of the filter. We can always change who the viewers are. So this is where you can pick that group, that project, that organization, or make it public, or the role. And then we have the editor. So basically the exact same people, but there is one caveat. You can only be in either the viewers or the editors. You can't be in both. So you got to kind of pick. And editors obviously has more power than viewers. So just keep that in mind. All right, now on to subscriptions, because I've never done the subscriptions. So let's look at how we do this. So a personal subscription. Whoa. This means that a filter is running for just a single user who created the subscription. Anyone can create personal subscriptions. Then we have a group subscription, which means the results of the filter will be sent to the groups subscribed. The managed group filter subscription global permission is required to create and delete group filter subscriptions. You should know that the configuration options for setting up a filter, this includes the option of email this filter even if there are no issues found. If enabled, the filter subscription email will be sent even if the filter upon returns 0. Secondly, you should understand the various scheduling options. Finally, be aware of the potential performance implications such as sending large subscriptions very frequently to many users. This can have an impact on the mail service. Ooh. So how do we do one of those? So I have a filter here, Sprint X. I'm going to go to filter details and add a subscription. I've never actually clicked through this. Okay, so here we go. So you can pick if it's a personal or you pick a group. All right. And then you pick the schedule. So do you want to send every day? Do you want to send it on a specific day per week or specific days per month? Or you can do a cron job. So if we do days per week, you can send it. Do you want to send it every day, every 3 hours, every 2 hours, every hour, every 30 minutes, or every 15 minutes? So this is where you can take an impact on your performance there. And then you can pick the time and then the days. Okay. Easy enough or straightforward enough. Subscription email content. You also need to know what email content is generated as a result of the subscription. It will include the same content that would be returned if the subscription query was running in the issue navigator. The results are relevant to the user for whom the subscription is being run. It is as if that user were running the query himself or herself and viewing the search results. This means that the content delivered via email will respect the permission settings at the project level along with security level secure. So basically, you can't see the issue and you're trying to do the query and you couldn't see the issue there, you're not going to see it here. The bottom line, different users may receive different results via the email for the same filter, again, depending on those permissions. Let's look at an example. And say that the group developers is subscribed to a safe filter with the JQL. So we have a project equals cert and assign equals current user. What will be the subscription content? Wow, I cannot read still. So recipients will only receive their own assigned issues before the subscription runs relevant to each. Okay, so the recipient, is this a question? Recipients must have the proper permissions in the cert project, and recipients must have access to security level. And it also depends on if 0 results are found for that recipient and the setting for email this filter, even if there's no issue found is enabled. Of course, the subscription will only be sent to active user accounts. Check your knowledge. Look at the following image and decide the following. The subscription will be sent out every other week. False. The subscription will be sent on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. True. The subscription will be sent to all members of the architecture group. True. The subscription will be sent even if there are no issues found. True. The subscription will be sent to anyone that has an architecture role. I'll say false because this is a group. Yay. The subscription will be sent to, okay, so I know this one already. I got it all right. So let's hit continue. Oh, and we're down to the questions. Wow, this was fast. Now for some questions. Might perform the following steps. Created a new filter with the JQL project in projects where user has role cells and assign equals current user. Okay. Created a filter subscription for the filter and set the recipients to the cells group. All right. And enable the setting email the filter if there's no issues found. Layla is a member of the sales group. Which issues will Layla receive in her subscription? So the filter is basically saying, any project where this user is a sales role, and then bring anything that's assigned to me in any of these projects where I'm a salesperson. So this should bring any issues assigned to anyone in the sales group. No, because of current user. Issues assigned to anyone in the sales role. No. Again, it'll bring you just the current user. Issues where Layla is kind of, but specifically where Layla is in the, sales role. This one's more right. Okay, so let's, based on this context, D is the only right answer. Because these were wrong for the reason I explained. This one was close, but you got to look for group and role, right? They're trying to trick you where these are sent to a group, a sales group, but you also need to have the sales role because that's the contents of the filter itself. And then Layla's not going to get Mike's crap because current user. All right. The sales team complains that some filters they have subscribed to send out an empty email. Identify the reason for this. The subscriptions are configured to send. Yep. So basically that one. I don't think I gotta do anything else. That one's easy. So I feel more comfortable with this section. The JQL is the only one that's gonna kick my butt in this whole test. So hopefully there's not a whole lot of JQL queries. Create a new filter with the JQL query says project equals com and assign equals current user. Shared the filter with all roles in the com project. Created a filter subscription for the filter and sent the subscription to the manager's group. Okay. And enable the setting email if there's no issues. Tom is a member of the manager's group and he can view all the issues from the com project. What issues will Tom receive? I don't think he's going to get anything. If I'm being honest. I don't think it's, well, let's see. Because the filter here says project equals com and the sign equals the current user, right? And so the issues assigned to Lisa, he's going to get anything that's assigned to Tom. That's basically it. Yep. All right, this was easy. I like this. These are easy. I can do that all day long. And we have 20 minutes, folks. What do you guys think? Should we just finish section 6? That way we just need to cover section 7 next week, and then we can take the test. I think we should just keep pressing on. We got 20 minutes, so this should be hopefully very easy. All right. Permissions. Let's start with what you must know about permissions in the area. So first of all, users need the bulk manage make bulk changes global permission in order to execute any bulk operation. When granted, it allows users to see and use the bulk change action in the issue navigator. However, the global permissions does not grant more privileges than the user would normally have on an individual issue. Namely, bulk operation respects the underlying project and issue permissions. So if you don't have the move permission, you ain't moving anything. If you don't have the edit permission, you ain't editing anything. The user cannot delete an individual issues in the project, and the user is not going to be able to delete them in bulk either. So basically, it's a two-stepper, right? Like there's a global permission that you need to have so you can make global changes, and then you need to have the project level permission for what you're trying to do. Use this powerful feature with caution. Bulk operations allows the manipulation of potentially hundreds of or thousands. This is an overstatement. You can only do 1,000 at a time. So this feature should be appropriately restricted. A bulk operation cannot be undone. If a mistake is made, issues will need to be updated again. And it's possible that the criteria to locate the issues was replaced during the original bulk update. So yes, this is a very, very real problem and a very, very real threat. One way is to tag the issues being updated is to add a comment with some text or maybe a label so that you can always find those issues, except when you delete something, right? When you delete it, it's gone. So execution. The execution of bulk operations is nuanced. There are 4 main steps. You choose the issues. You choose what you're going to do. Are you going to move it? Are you going to edit it? Are you going to delete it? You select the operation details. Some of them are going to have specific details, and then you confirm. So there's 6 types of operations. You can edit, you can move, you can transition, you can delete, you can watch, and you can stop watching. And if you're a Jira admin and you've ever done an import, this was your best friend because at bulk, you can stop watching issues. So you can stop getting notifications for issues that you don't care about. Some operations have additional steps like field or status mapping. Note also that when editing some fields, you can add to existing values, clear values, replace all, or find and remove. Finally, be aware that you can suppress. So basically what this is saying, like labels, you can add to an existing label. So if you want to add a new label in bulk, you can go, hey, respect all the labels that are there, add this new label, or you can just delete all the labels, or you can delete all the labels and put the new label, or you can just find a specific label and get rid of that label. So powerful stuff there. And labels field usually the one I do it in. Finally, be aware that you can suppress notifications by unchecking the option send email for this update for a bulk change. This is off, I believe, by default, but it's something that you should definitely not click unless you want to send out 1,000 notifications. Moving issues between team and company managed projects. Due to the architecture of each project type, there's some special considerations that need to be accounted for when using bulk update to move issues between the project types. Be sure to read the documentation on this. The details are okay. So issue type. So basically, when you're moving from one to the other, it's a pain. So issue types. If you added your own issue types to your team managed projects, you will need to have the Jira administrator recreate those issue types and with the exact same name, same everything. Completed versus planned sprints. So sprints won't move from a company managed to a team managed project. The issues that were in your company managed project will be added to the backlog of your team managed project. This is interesting. I've never thought or have never in my life gone backwards. I always go from team to company, but I guess you could go from company to team. Board statuses. If you customize your team managed board, you will need to set up the same statuses in your company managed project workflow. Yep. Story point estimation. This one's a little fun one. When moving from a company managed to a team managed, this data will be lost. However, you will be able to start using story point estimations by enabling the estimation feature in your team managed project. When moving from a team to a company, this data will also be lost. So what I recommend is you do, because you have a story point estimate field, I recommend that you do an extract of your data. So you have the story point values. And then when you do the move, you get the new key. You got to update the story point field instead of the story point estimate. So there is a difference, folks. Components. Component fields are unique to every project in Jira. If you migrate issues with the completed component field information, you will lose data. Versions release are lost in the migration process, even if you have the release and versions enabled in the team managed project. Custom fields. When moving from this is the biggest pain in the butt here. So, but when moving from a company managed to a team managed, custom fields must be recreated in the team managed project, as team managed project fields are independent from global custom fields. When moving from a team to a company project, the custom field will need to be created and added to the screens and the field configuration. This may include adding values. And yeah, so this is a pain, folks, because if you have a team managed project with like 30 custom fields, you got to go recreate those 30 custom fields exactly the way they are. And I just try to avoid doing this conversion. Reports. Data from your project's velocity reports will be saved. The velocity report will show that no points were completed in the past sprints. Report history. All reporting history will be lost during the migration process. So to burn up everything. So you want to only move under very explicit and dire circumstances. And then project access. So since the project for a company is so much more involved, you basically need to recreate all that. So finally, you should also understand the expected results of a bulk operation. For example, once the operation is complete, issues may drop out entirely from a filter in the issue navigator from which you chose the operator, because the updated issues may or may no longer match the criteria. Also, what happens to the issue keys when an issue is moved to another project? Well, the moved issue will still be associated with the issue key, so it's possible to search on that old issue key. However, the issue will have a new key based on the project target, and it's not the same number. So for example, if you have like issue awesome-30 and you move it to project not awesome and you have 50 issues, it's going to be number 51. So it's going to be rekeyed to the new key and the new next number in the sequence. So keep in mind that exists. Some potential problems. You might ask yourself, what could possibly go wrong? Delete permissions. You cannot bulk delete if you do not have the delete permission. And there is no undo. Workflow inconsistency. Issues may not transition due to workflow inconsistencies. For example, if there's a validator present on the transition, or if the issues are not in a state that can be transitioned, for example, and there's no outgoing. So yeah, so there's no path in your workflow. You just can't force it. You can, however, force it on an import, but not like this. Edit operations not available. So another potential problem is that users are not, basically, that whatever status you're trying to do is not editable. So you'll have a problem there. And then you need to have the necessary permissions, right? So example, if you need to set the due dates of something, you need to have the scheduled issues permission. Let's look at an example from the scenario that involves good knowledge of bulk operations. User Tom wants the ability to transition hundreds of old issues to closed. What are some relevant configurations involved for him to be able to do so? The obvious one is that Tom needs to bulk change to global permission. That's a given. He also needs to have the relevant project permissions to view, transition, resolve, and close the issues. So at the project, he needs to have these permissions. And then depending on the workflow configurations, the issue must have the appropriate status, or there must be an available transition that goes to closed, right? Because if you're over here in the workflow and you're trying to get over here and there's no line that way, you ain't going to get there. There may also be workflow conditions based on groups or project roles or validators preventing the transition from continuing. All right, so that was it for that. And we're just going to do some exam questions and we're going to wrap this one up. And then next week, we would just finish section 7, hopefully with Rodney back, and then I'll go take the test. All right, so we have these issues, these assignees, these statuses, and these priorities. Ohana is trying to bulk edit some issues to change the priority to blocker. The list of issues shown above. Only the assignee is notified of any issue updates in the IT project. What two behaviors will be observed from this operation? The updated date. Sure. Ohana is assigned to 33 and 50. Nope. Only Loane and Casper are notified the change in priority. Yes. Only updated date in 33 and 50 is changed. Yes, and not A now that I read it, because this one's already blocker, so it ain't going to change. The status of 18 is changed to open. We're not doing that. We're not changing statuses. We're just changing priorities. Ohana, Lane, and Copper are notified the change in priority. So not this one, because she won't be notified of her own thing because this one didn't get updated. So I think I got the 2 right ones. Yay. All right, Joe needs to update all the issues in his project set component to mobile. Well, many of them already have Android components set. Joe performed the bulk operation on the issues. He chose edit the issues operations and then replace all with the option to change the components to mobile. What are the results? So some issues, I'm looking for Android. Some issues have mobile. This one. Because he did replace with. So Joe needs to update all the issues in the project to set the component to mobile. Many of them already have Android. And because he's doing the replace all, Android's going to drop off and we're just going to have mobile. And that's it. All right, onward. So we're good, folks. We finished 10 minutes early. Come back next week. On Wednesday of next week, we will finish and hit the last module 7 of this course, which then we will be ready to take the ACP-120, and hopefully we can pass it. So I'm not feeling too comfortable about those JQL ones, but feeling comfortable about everything else. So that's it for this one, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop a like and let us know in the comment section if you passed the test and you took this course. We always like to hear that feedback. I know a couple of you have definitely done that, so let me know. All right. See you all next week. Bye.